This video, we're going to get back into the fantasy battles, and we're going to look at this epic battle coming up between the Terminator and the Predator. Okay guys, welcome back. So let's look at this tale of the tape. We're going to start with the Predator. Now the Predator is one of my favorite characters from cinema, one of my favorite alien types, and he is quite a large creature from a different planet, and he packs quite a punch on many different levels, with an assortment of weapons from blades, spears, flying discs that seem to cut through anything, a photon laser of some sort from his shoulder. I mean, this guy's got it all. I didn't even mention the web net that he tosses at people that kind of just has like an acid effect that goes to their skin. I mean, the Predator comes prepared. And to top it all off, he's very hard to detect, coming with a cloaking device. I mean, he is definitely a hunter at the heart, but I got to tell you right now, even if he wasn't hunting, just on a straight up fight, this guy has many different ways he can beat you. Now for this fantasy battle, we also, as I've said many times before, have to take into account the range of weapons, and they only get one weapon per range. So for the Predator, we basically get to choose 3 weapons, and the 3 weapons I chose for him were, for his long range, we're going to be going with his particle cannon or his photon cannon, whatever you want to call it, laser cannon. And we're going to throw that into the mix. That'll be his primary long-range weapon. From the mid-range, I decided to go with his spear, because his spear can be tossed. It retracts. It has like 3 different sizes, so it has definitely many perfected mid-range capabilities. So I thought that was a perfect choice for the Predator for his mid-range weapon. And finally, for his short range, we're going to go with his wrist blade, which will obviously coincide with his melee abilities, which we've seen he's very capable. Now, in terms of the Predator's armor, it's a biomechanical armor which provides some pretty decent defense, but at the same time, since it's attached to his anatomy, hit in the right spot or hit in a certain spot could cause a lot of trouble for the Predator. So while he has decent armor, it is very susceptible to many different kinds of weapons. So considering he is an alien with some pretty advanced technology, he is very susceptible to regular guns and stabbing weapons. So with that said, he also gets a bonus in his armor because he is quite agile for his size. And compared to his opponent, who we're going to get to next, I would say he is a lot faster and a lot more agile than the Terminator. So he gets a little bonus in that department. The Predator is quite a fighter. I mean, he will be able to find ways to try and defeat the Terminator with such an array of weapons. And even though we're going with 3, all very capable of causing some pretty significant damage. Now, even though these are sharp weapons, 2 of his 3 weapons are sharp, I'm taking into consideration that his metal is alien-made versus the Terminator metal, which is man-made. So even though metal on metal, you would think, oh, well, how's he going to pierce the Terminator? Well, I'm taking into account that he's got some pretty significant weapons that would be more than capable of doing some damage to that exoskeleton of the Terminator. I'm going to give him that advantage. And not necessarily say that it's an advantage, but I'm going to put that pretty much like an X factor. So that would be interesting to see coming through the simulator. I had to make some adjustments to his offense versus the Terminator's defense in the category of piercing. So the Predator, long range shoulder cannon, mid range the retractable spear that he can also toss, and close range will be a series of melee attacks along with his wrist blade. And we're going to see how he does against the Terminator. Okay, so now we have the Terminator. Ooh, the Terminator. This model we're going to use will be the original Terminator, which, if I'm not mistaken, is the T-800. Never really specified what kind of metal was used to create the cyborg in the original Terminator movie, but we can pretty much be sure that it is some sort of futuristic advanced metal, maybe some type of advanced titanium alloy of some sort, but nevertheless, it's very durable. As we saw in many of the Terminator movies, it was very difficult to put a dent in that armor, and it should provide quite a bit of protection for the Terminator. Now, he is very adept at using many different weapons, primarily any weapons that require shooting, like guns or lasers or things of that nature. And the Terminator can pretty much use any gun on the fly. He can find many different ways to kill you as well. And while he doesn't have an assortment of unique weapons like the Predator, he has an assortment of essentially any weapon that he can grab. Now for his long-range weapons, we're going to provide the Terminator with his choice. Basically, any long-range firearm that you could possibly think of, he is going to use to his advantage in this simulation. Now, because I didn't pick a specific gun, I just put in the category long-range firearm, and I made the stats based on his ability to target because of his computer system, and with the advantage of hitting his target at the precise spot that he wants to. Now, while we didn't see any of these really on display in the movies, I feel that because he is a cyborg and he's a computer system and he is an adept killer, this is something that he should have. It's pretty obvious that during the movies, while they don't show that ability, they also show him from a first-person perspective. You can see him that he can target. He can put a crosshair on a target. So I'm going to give him the advantage that while he has no specific weapon per se, whatever long-range weapon he would have pinpoint accuracy, and he would be able to hit his target from a fair distance. Now, for his mid-range weapon, I gave him his classic shotgun. This weapon is very powerful at a short range. Obviously, we all know that a shotgun has a spray effect, and it can cause quite a significant amount of damage. Couple that with his ability to hit targets and to be very accurate, the Terminator at a mid-range should be very deadly with a shotgun. However, the shotgun requires pump action. It's a little bit more time-consuming. It doesn't hold as much ammo as, say, a sidearm or a rifle, perhaps, but it makes that up with power. So it's a slow weapon, but at the same time, it's a powerful one. It should be able to even things out, considering that the Predator is going to be having more of a melee weapon, but the Predator also has speed to his advantage. So that'll be a pretty interesting portion of the simulation to see who wins that mid-range battle. So for his short range, I'm going to give the Terminator basically melee attacks. When you consider the amount of power and the amount of foot-pounds of pressure that this cyborg can cause, like if he was to squeeze somebody or if he was to punch somebody. I mean, you saw in the original Terminator in the beginning, he punched right through that guy's chest. And we have to take into consideration that the Predator's armor, while advanced and biomechanical, is very, very light. So it should make for a pretty good fight, considering that the Predator is going to have his melee attack, but at the same time, he's going to have his wrist blade, which, again, I'm giving the X factor in terms of alien alloy, that it has the potential to cut through the Terminator armor. So it should be very, very interesting to see this battle and see how things turn out. So here we go, guys. Predator, Terminator. We're going to throw it in the simulator, and let's start the motherfucking countdown.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Well, guys, there is your final result, 15-10. Terminator wins over Predator. You know, it was a very, very close match up until it got to the long range. In the short range game, the Predator outlasted the Terminator 6-5. So that goes to show you that very well that those wrist blades played a factor and were able to penetrate the armor of the Terminator. And even with that, obviously, the 5 wins by the Terminator shows just how powerful, strike for strike, that he is with those heavy titanium, if they are even titanium, the metal in his exoskeleton, just bludgeoning the Predator probably to death out of those 5 wins in the short range category. In the mid range, they were tied, and this was a very good mid range fight. Obviously, as I said before, the shotgun being very effective but very slow, and the Predator with the spear having so many different capabilities and being able to do different things definitely nullified the shotgun. So that was an even match and shows just how much skill the Predator has in a mid-range fight with some of the weapons he has, in this case the spear. Now the long range really was quite a surprise. The long range fight was a shutout on the Terminator's end, but you know, when you really think about it, and I didn't mention this in the pregame or the pre-match, you know, just how powerful is the Predator's laser? Well, we saw what it did to Jesse Ventura in the original Predator movie, but we also saw that in Predator 2 when Danny Glover put a very simple maybe iron plate under his shirt, that iron plate was able to absorb the laser blast. So in this case, with a much more higher tier alloy of metal, the laser blast was not very effective. And when you consider that the Terminator has such a very, very dynamic and complicated exoskeleton build, it would have taken quite a number of direct shots by the Predator to penetrate that. In the meantime, the Terminator was just barraging him with a series of bullets and things of that nature. And you know, in this match, the Predator's cloak doesn't really play a factor because the Terminator is a robot. He could see right through that. I feel he has that capability of seeing infrared and also being able to change his vision as well to make things easier to see at night. We saw that in, for example, in Judgment Day when he was having night vision driving through the mountains. So the cloak not playing a factor, we see that basically the Terminator just picked him apart. You know, it doesn't matter how much he moved around or whatever the case may be. And as I said, the Predator's armor, while very effective and very helpful, it's a very light armor. You hit it in the right spots, you're going to cause a lot of problems for the Predator. And the Terminator being very relentless, the Predator had no chance to stop somewhere for a minute and use his healing abilities or his little concoctions to heal his wounds. So, you know, when you really sit back and think about it, it's actually no surprise that the Terminator shut him out in the long range. So that was a very, very interesting battle, very, very compelling. Terminator and Predator, for the most part, fairly close. I mean, yeah, it was 15-10, but 2 out of the 3 categories could have gone anyway. And it just so happens that the Terminator is very, very, very adept at using firearms. And the Predator, while his laser cannon is quite powerful, it needs to have a direct hit, and it seems to have some problems penetrating very, very good armor. In this case, the Terminator armor is very, very durable. And again, like I mentioned before, if Danny Glover can take a laser shot to the chest with a little iron plate, it makes perfect sense that the Terminator is able to withstand a couple of shots of the laser while basically throwing a flurry of bullets at the Predator in the meantime. So, not to mention, we got to take into effect also that the Predator's laser needs to charge, where the Terminator can fire off a couple of guns at a time and empty a clip and reload probably faster than that laser can charge. So, very, very fun fantasy battle. Very good match between these two cinematic icons, the Terminator and the Predator. So that's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I will announce this Sunday on the channel update what's going to be the 2 fantasy battles for the month of February. And that's it. Take it easy, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next video. Hey guys, welcome to Entertainment Talk Nation. I'm your host Rob. This video, we're going to get back into the fantasy battles, and we're going to look at this epic battle coming up between the Terminator and the Predator. Okay guys, welcome back. So let's look at this tale of the tape. We're going to start with the Predator. Now the Predator is one of my favorite characters from cinema, one of my favorite alien types, and he is quite a large creature from a different planet, and he packs quite a punch on many different levels with an assortment of weapons from blades, spears, flying discs that seem to cut through anything, a photon laser of some sort from his shoulder. I mean, this guy's got it all. I didn't even mention the web net that he tosses at people that kind of just has like an acid effect that goes to their skin. I mean, the Predator comes prepared. And to top it all off, he's very hard to detect, coming with a cloaking device. I mean, he is definitely a hunter at the heart, but I got to tell you right now, even if he wasn't hunting, just on a straight up fight, this guy has many different ways he can beat you. Now for this fantasy battle, we also, as I've said many times before, have to take into account the range of weapons, and they only get 1 weapon per range. So for the Predator, we basically get to choose 3 weapons, and the 3 weapons I chose for him were, for his long range, we're going to be going with his particle cannon or his photon cannon, whatever you want to call it, laser cannon. And we're going to throw that into the mix. That'll be his primary long-range weapon. From the mid-range, I decided to go with his spear because his spear can be tossed. It retracts. It has like 3 different sizes. So